No matter how I define this realization, it always falls short of the reality of the realization. When I hear myself say, all of life, I know it is more than that, and it's closer than that. It is not an abstract realization. It is not something that is separate from human. It is not something that is bound by human. So it is both beyond and closer than any view I had ever had, than any definition I had ever accepted or rejected, and it included all of that. It includes all of that. So this realization did not end in that moment. What is realized in a moment of perfect realization is what has always been present. This is the great laugh that is a part of realization. That which one has been desperately, furiously, relentlessly, with great frustration searching for, has always been present exactly where one is always present, is present now in you, and can be revealed to you now as your own self. And that's the power of this question. Who are you? Who am I? And that power really comes from my teacher's teacher, Sri Ramana Maharishi. He was awakened initially when he was a young boy, 16 years old, without any prior real religious training other than what a Hindu boy would get in his home. He had a profound experience of fear of death, and in his willingness to lay down on the floor and actually directly experience who dies, he realized eternal truth as his own self. He stayed around home for a while, but finally ended up making his way to Arunachala, a holy mountain in India, where he lived the rest of his life. He lived a very simple life, a life of a sadhu. Many years in total silence, absorbed in the revelation of his being. It is from his awakening and his message that who you are is already present, shining, awaiting its discovery. This message, through him and through Papaji and through hearing this, makes it available to you. It is his awakening that is now available to you. This is the mystery of the self, transcending and yet using everything, including technology, for its revelation. When I say Ramana Maharshi was a sadhu, I'm referring to a particular style of life that is traditional in Indian society, where one turns from the ways of the world and lives the most simple life. He spent most of his life simply wandering around the hill Arunachala with only a loincloth and whatever food someone would give him. He had no interest in any of the ways of the world. This is a very different kind of life from our usual Western experience. And it's not that he thought that was the best kind of life, or it's not that he said you must live this kind of life and then you will get realization. This was simply the destiny of his body. So many people in the West have looked to the East and said, aha, if only I were a sadhu, then I would realize truth. But when these kinds of questions or statements or beliefs were brought to Ramana, he would laugh and say, if you were to be a sadhu, you would be a sadhu. That there is a destiny to a life stream in terms of past desires or karma that reveals itself. And this destiny is secondary, always, to the realization of what is beyond destiny, what is untouched by any particular life stream's destiny. So this path of self-inquiry is not an inquiry that demands or even asks that you become a sadhu or that you live a particular kind of life. It is a questing inward to what is untouched by any kind of life, what is the same in all kinds of life. For instance, when you were a young child, you lived a certain kind of life, and then as a teenager, a different kind of life, and as a young adult, a different kind, in middle-aged, a different kind, all having different costumes, different social settings, different relationships of power and powerlessness. And yet, throughout all of these different lifestyles, there is the continuing presence of beingness, waiting to be recognized. So I want to make that very clear, that this is not a path of injunctions. It is a path that removes all injunctions, because any injunction in how or what to do still has to do with the mind activity. And the glory and the challenge of the simplicity of simply, for a moment, not doing anything is the invitation to really the question, who am I? When I am not doing anything, who am I? So I'm very happy to at least present this teaching to you, and certainly it is possible that we celebrate this awakening together as speaker and listener realize there is no real separation. What is speaking is hearing itself. What is hearing is recognizing itself.